Kevin here with Notes on Iowa, and today we're talking about Part 2, Day 7 of my 2021 walk across Iowa to follow the 1835 Iowa Dragoons. And on this particular day, I spent a lot of time in Fort Dodge. I started just south of the Frontier Fort Military Museum and then passed through town along the Des Moines River before eventually heading out to Kennedy Park Campground to end the day in terms of walking. Then I doubled back, checked out the museum, went downtown to the original fort location, visited a local cemetery to visit the founder of Fort Dodge, William Williams, and even headed over Webster City to check out another Daughter of the American Revolution Dragoon marker, as well as the end of the auto route for the Dragoon Trail. So come along with me as we take a little bit closer look at Part 2, Day 7 of my 2021 walk across Iowa to follow the 1835 Iowa Dragoons. So starting at the Frontier Fort and Military Museum, one of the things you'll see is a Daughters of the American Revolution marker that we've seen throughout the state for the Dragoon Trail, but this one is really well put together. It's got a nice interpretation around it, including this painting of a dragoon, as well as a rendering of the Albert Lee map the Dragoons followed. And you can see here kind of the route I'm on up the Des Moines River is the return route. Also inside the museum, there's a lot of great stuff to check out, including officers' quarters that are original, and just a lot of really well put together exhibits, both on military and early settlement in the area based on the writings of William Williams, but also kind of about a variety of other things. And here we see a picture of original Fort Dodge. Notice there's no stockade fence around. I mean, we know so much about this because of this guy, William Williams, who is a major. He's buried at the Oakland Cemetery in Fort Dodge. You go take a look at this, and he wrote a lot of important stuff about early Fort Dodge that helps us better understand Iowa as it's developing during that time period. The fort itself wasn't at the location of the museum today. It was in downtown. You can find this marker by the Daughters of the American Revolution and an interpretive panel that kind of talk a little bit about the fort in its original location on the east bank of the Des Moines River instead of the west. But aside from the military history you can take a look at the fort, there's also the Frontier Village. And this is where I think this museum really stands out in terms of Iowa museums, is that their collections are incredibly well organized in ways that allow them to showcase important different parts of Fort Dodge's history, while also kind of getting into some other things, including like the Cardiff giant made out of gypsum, which Fort Dodge is famous from. You can see their kind of Cardiff giant, or the Cardiff giant, if you read the interpretive panels there. Another interesting story that I'm not going to delve into here too, but maybe pop it into the Google. You can also see, as I was leaving the fort, the Dragoon Trail for the Department of Transportation starting point. And this is kind of interesting because, you know, my journey started in Montrose, but their journey started, if you're going to do the DOT driving route, in Fort Dodge. But as we continued up the river, one of the things that stood out was the Guido Van Helton mural. And this is massive. It depicts a variety of different people in Fort Dodge's history holding different ceramic objects on a grain silo. And there's a lot of things that make this incredibly interesting. First, the texture and the realism that Van Helton was able to put together here on a curved surface, like an old grain silo, is incredible to me. It was astounding at the time. And as we were able to check this out, a really an interesting thing that I would recommend if you're in the area, go take a look at it. There's another wonderful mural by Van Helton in Mankato on a grain silo depicting the Dakota people, which was something on our minds as we were heading through the day as well, because we crossed over Lizard Creek, home to Sito Minaduta's village. And Sito Minaduta was a Wapakute Dakota chief we talked a little bit about with Milton Lott. And Henry Lott, who eventually murdered Sito Minaduta. But Sito Minaduta is really important to Fort Dodge's history because his village at Lizard Creek, as many as 5,000 Dakota lived there, and the fort being located where it was on the opposite bank was largely a result of the large Dakota presence in the region. We can see a lot of things today that remind us as we move through this northwestern portion of the state of the Dakota and Iowa. And I think it's really important to recognize them as an important part of the history of this portion of the state. I'm going to talk about some of these things more as we continue on, over the next few days and take a look at some of the videos and articles related to places like Avery Hill and of course Spirit Lake when we eventually get there. Leaving the Guido Van Helton mural, we're walking and we startled a bald eagle out of a tree. It flew down over the river, as you can see here. Just really interesting moment. It took off from about 5 or 6 feet over my head. I didn't have the camera quite ready, but I got a few shots as it was going. Opposite Loomis Park there, where I took the pictures of the eagle, is the Fort Dodge Dam site. Jerry in the comments yesterday in the article was kind of telling me they actually took the dam out a little bit later than after it was decommissioned in 1970s. It actually came out fairly recently. You can see one remnant of the dam here. There is Hydroelectric Park in Fort Dodge, where I went to fly the drone and take some of the overhead footage and some of the photographs. From there, I just continued north past the airport. I walked past an orchard that grows a variety of different apples. Stopped for a break at a cemetery and took a look at all the different Bronze Star medal winners and Purple Heart recipients that were buried there. And I thought that was a really interesting kind of stop. It made me think about, and one of my traveling companions for the day, he's a Vietnam War veteran, and we talked a little bit about his experience as well before eventually pushing on to Kennedy Park. And Kennedy Park is in north of Fort Dodge. It's a recreation area with an 18-hole golf course and Badger Lake, which is about 52 acres, you can see here in the video. And there's a couple of yurts for rent. We stayed there. It was a great stay where there are lots of people doing lots of activities in the park. Just a really nice place to get outside. Just a little bit further north in the airport of the Harlan Rogers Sports Complex, if you've never been there. It was great playground. So there was this teepee there, which I wonder about. But eventually decided to head over to Webster City, find this this marker for the Dragoon Trail that the Daughters of the American Revolution put up, as well as we want to see the end of the Dragoon Trail. So if you're taking the DOT driving route, it starts in Fort Dodge and ends in Webster City after going down the river on all the way to Lake Red Rock and Pella, all the way back up to Webster City. But as you know, if you've been following the project, the Dragoons left from Montrose, went up to the Boone River confluence over into Minnesota, then came all the way back down the Des Moines. So my route is kind of following their return path in some ways, especially. Thanks for taking a look at the project. I really appreciate any feedback you're able to provide. People make this project better every day. And as I'm doing more and more research into some of the things I came across in these observational videos and articles, I'm further developing some of my thoughts about Iowa's history, especially as it relates to the Dragoons, Iowa's environment, the Des Moines River. So I encourage you to reach out with any feedback you might have. And I do really appreciate taking the time to take a look. Thanks.
There's a lot of good history about Iowa. A lot of people don't even know about it.